How's it, everyone? I've been sent some questions today to ask our co-founder of Legacy Real Estate, Mr. Tsair. So
Twas I, Gene.
that's it. What is your favorite statement, Gene? Destroyer of worlds.
Destroyer of worlds, indeed.
I love it. I love it. Absolutely, I love it. So, Gene, one of the questions here is, what's the dumbest thing you've seen people do when they invest in real estate?
The dumbest thing I see people do when they invest in real estate. So when you say that when somebody's investing in real estate, there's two things they can do. They can either own a house to live in, or they can own a house as rental property as for an investment reason. And one of the dumbest things I've seen of somebody who's doing it for an investment purpose is when they buy a house, when they don't want to buy a house because the house value they think is too high, so they'll instead go 30 miles away and they'll go buy a crappier house or a worse house that's very far away because they say, I want more income, or, oh, the price here is too high, I'll go this and this and this. But the thing that they don't recognize is that if you had house prices go up 40% across the board, right? So over every year on average, the house prices go up about 5 to 7%. 5% for America in general, 7% for California over the last 50 years. So when house prices go up in price and you have a higher priced home to start with, you gain more. So what I mean by that is they're trying to say, I don't want to buy that $500,000 house. I want to buy the $350,000 house in the middle of nowhere. So in a couple of years when your house gone up 10%, is 10% of $500,000 more, or is 10% of $350,000 more?
Right, absolutely, yeah.
So they don't actually think about the fact that a lot of times houses move higher at the same rate, at a similar rate. So when they move higher at a similar rate, especially, you want the higher price one, you want the one that will give you the most dollar amount, because we can't eat percentages. This is a second dumb reason that real estate.
Eat percentages.
We can't eat percentages. You can only deposit dollars in the bank. You cannot deposit percentages. You can't eat a percentage. You can't eat a cap rate. You can't eat a percentage return on your money. So, oh great, I got 5% instead of 4%. I'm awesome. You can't eat a percentage. So if you got 5% of, let's just say, which might equal to say $500, or would you rather get, let's just say 1%, but equals to $10,000. So you always want to focus on the dollars. So you don't just want to focus on percentages, because you can't eat percentages. You can't eat cap rates. You can only eat dollars. Your bank will only accept dollars. Your debit card will only accept dollars. You have to think in terms of dollars.
Yeah, I like it. That's awesome, dude. That's awesome. What is the most unconventional property investment you've made that turned out to be a game changer, and what made you take that leap despite the risk?
I'm going to tell you my best real estate investment, my most amazing real estate investment. So we have bought it for $980. We sold it for $1,365,000. So we made $385,000 in 47 days. So how did I identify this? I identified this property because the person selling it was a wholesaler, but this wholesaler had put his own money to this seller. So he's a wholesaler, meaning that he has the property under contract and he's trying to sell it to another investor. That's me. So he was kind of silly because he had actually got it under contract and he had already fronted the owner a lot of money. He didn't have a lot of money to begin with because he was just the wholesaler who was just starting off. And then the issue with that is that he tried to sell it to me and the house had foundation issues. But it had foundation issues and he said, oh, you bought it as is. Like, too bad. I said, doesn't work that way. He's like, what? I talked to his agent and his agent actually got freaked out. He refused to talk to me and he quit the industry because I said, he's like, oh, I'm not your agent. I don't have to do that. I'm like, are you an agent? Are you licensed? Yes, you will be responsible. If we go to court, you will be responsible. It's like, what? You cannot make somebody buy a house sight unseen and then say, surprise, there was foundation issues, but now you have to buy it. You cannot do that. All properties, if you never saw it, then you never established the condition that the property was in when you made the offer. Because the condition that you're buying the property is the condition it was in when you made the offer. But if you never saw it, then you never established that condition, especially for something like foundation. The foundation was cracked and it wasn't disclosed. He said, oh, I gave you photos and I gave you Matterport. You know, I gave you the 3D whatever image. Sorry, you can't tell foundation issues from there. It's different than if I said, oh, the roof is shot. Oh, I gave you photos, you should have seen the roof is shot. That's arguable. But if you say if I say the foundation is shot and I gave him an estimate that was like $80,000 to fix it, and he was all worried, all freaking out, I'm like, I want $100,000 less. He's like, what? I want $100,000 less, otherwise I'm canceling. And he said, fine, cancel. And then 2 days later says, dang, I don't have anybody else, I need to close, this guy's about to run out of money. If I don't close this, I won't get the money I lent him back. So he sold it, $980. I negotiated down $100,000 because of that. and I took the $100,000 and I made $285,000 on top of that. So that would be the best real estate investment I made, and we did that through negotiating. People make a big mistake when they're doing investing. They think investing is about percentages. They think it's about analysis. If I were to be quite honest, a lot of investing is about negotiating and understanding who you're negotiating with. More important than anything when you're doing real estate investing.
That's very good.
Is who you're talking to.
Very true, exactly, Gene. Has there been an instant, Gene, where it's non-negotiable? Where you realize that it's something that you have to walk away, and it's not a negotiation, where for some reason you didn't know there was a foundational crack. You got the home under contract, and then you found the crack. How would you get yourself out of that?
I would never buy a house with a foundation crack, because even if it was like a serious deal, because even if you fix it, it'll never fully be okay. Because foundation cracks usually come from some underlying issue. If you can believe it, there was an idiot, complete idiot, I saw this happen to. They had a house where they had the slab, right, a concrete slab, and they had the water lines in the slab, so they had to fix the water line, so they cut open the slab, and then they cut like a trail, so they can change the water lines, the drain lines, and that kind of stuff. And you know what they cut through? Rebar. They cut through rebar. So you had rebar that was like a lattice, right? That's holding the concrete together. And then the guy who was cutting, he was saw cutting the concrete, he just cut right through the rebar. You know what that means?
Wow, Gene.
The house started doing this. I'm like, are you freaking idiots? And I saw that, I'm like, I'm not buying this. And I was like, oh, Gene, we'll give you $50,000 off. No, I'm not buying this. Your house is, you cracked your house in half for no reason. Idiots.
Oh, that's scary.
So this guy who was saw cutting, the guy who was cutting into concrete, saw rebar, and he kept on cutting. And he cut like 15, 20 feet. I'm like, are you, like, use your brain. Right, like why do you think rebar's there? Rebar's there to hold the structure together. It's basically like the skeleton of a concrete. So it means that if that concrete had rebar, there's a reason for it. It means it needs it to stay together. And if you hit rebar for whatever reason, you have to stop right away.
Yeah, you release all that pressure.
You cut open the bones. You just broke the bones of the house.
Right.
I'm like, this is not fixable. So some things like that cannot be fixed with money.
Wow. So you have to just walk away. It's no good. Very good, Gene. So, Gene, if you could go back and give your younger self one piece of advice before your first real estate deal, what would it be, and how has that lesson shaped your portfolio today?
First lesson, buy Bitcoin. Second lesson, buy Apple. Quite honestly, those investments have done way better than real estate. I've done quite well with real estate because one of the better investments I made was we bought a bunch of apartments that were about 100,000-ish, and they had gone up to 400,000, and then we sold those and moved them into fourplexes. So as a down payment for a fourplex. So the 100,000 got parlayed into a $2 million building over just under 10 years, 8 years.
Very good.
So that's very good. And that's kind of what I did in the beginning of my career. I moved a lot of those money that doubled and quadrupled. Quite honestly, Bitcoin and Apple went up 50 times. Apple went up 50 times ever since the bottom in 2010, 12. And this is not to give, not financial advice. The reason why is because Apple was part of the Omega trend. The trend was smartphones. So even if the market was down, the trend was still up because everyone was adopting smartphones and they were Apple. Apple was the biggest beneficiary of all this smartphone technology. It's the same kind of thing that's happening in AI right now. So AI is such a strong trend that even if we had a recession, AI would probably pull through it.
Wow.
The biggest reason is because AI increases productivity so much that a lot of companies can use AI instead of hiring. So when times get leaner, they will try to lean more into AI, not less. So, but that's neither here nor there.
Yeah.
My third advice from buying Bitcoin, buying Apple, my third advice would be, when I bought some of those houses, I would have moved them more quickly. So this is actually a big mistake that cost me hundreds of thousands of dollars. When I bought those $100,000 properties, I should have sold them when they were 200 and bought something better. Instead, I waited till the very last moment, 8 years later, 2015 and 16, I started to do this. I started to sell those houses that went from 100 to 400, and then I sold and bought a fourplex because I used the 400,000, and then I used it as a down payment for a $1.3 million fourplex. And then now $1 million loan on that fourplex, it's worth close to $2 million, and it's cash flowing, it's producing a lot of money. And it was just one exchange, one selling and buying. So 1031 exchanges is a different issue, but The biggest thing that I would have done if I were smarter is I would have actually exchanged it twice. I would have sold it when it was 200,000 and then bought a house. And then that house would have gone to 600,000, 700,000, and then I would move that instead.
Nice.
So the big mistake that I made that cost me $100,000 was that I should have rolled it a few more times, because as I told you, when the asset prices go up, it goes up as a percentage. So when you hold a $100,000 condo and it goes up 50%, you're happy. But when you have a house, many times they go up 50%. A $400,000 house, 50% is $200,000.
Right.
A $100,000 condo, 50% is $50,000. Always try to move up to bigger stuff more quickly, especially as interest rates were coming down. So I should have done more action, not less action. So I would have told my younger self, you're a lazy bum. You're only working 80 hours a week. You got to work 90 hours a week, and you got to get that extra sale in.
Knowing you're 100 hours a week, Gene.
Yeah.
How about this one? How do you identify emerging markets or neighborhoods that others overlook? And what's an example of a hidden gem you've capitalized on?
A lot of investors and a lot of real estate agents like to invest in properties that they themselves will want to live in. But the properties that they themselves want to live in has a little bit of a problem, that there are never any sales. So the prices might actually float up because there's lack of available inventory.
Okay.
So because there's lack of things for sale and a lot of people want to buy it, the prices kind of go up. But the places that I think you make the most amount of money that people don't recognize and they overlook a lot are places with heavy rental demand. If something has heavy rental demand, it kind of creates a floor to the pricing, and it tells you how many people actually want to be in that place. Pricing, as we know, is just supply and demand. So it's just how much you have available and how many people want to buy it. So you basically can play one of two games. If you want to be in a nice area, quote unquote nice area, you'll have low supply because everybody wants to stay there because it's a nice area, but you won't have that much demand. You have a certain level of demand, but you won't have like a crazy demand. But if you go to a certain area like we have in, say, Anaheim, and there are certain areas of Anaheim that is unbelievable amount of housing demand. That every house that's a normal 1,200 square foot house has 7 to 10 adults living in it. It's like every single, this is not good.
Generational, yeah.
It's not good, but it's immense housing demand that keeps on pushing the price up. It creates a bottom. The house price just keeps on wanting to go up, whereas we saw with this last downturn. So as an example, we saw in this area with immense housing demand in Anaheim, the house prices maybe dropped from about $1,050,000 to maybe 950, 980, maybe 60 or 70,000, right? So there was another house for another property that that I saw, that was another agent that I knew, and the property there was about $3.5 million. It was listed for $3.5 million, and they could not sell it for anything more than $3 million. So $3 million was where the market wanted to be. They actually listed originally higher than that. So what that means is, because it was kind of in the stratosphere, kind of like a really, very few people can afford that $3 million, $3.5 million house. There was a lot more of an air gap, much more of the price to come down, whereas the other place that has immense housing demand couldn't come down that much. Because when it came down, the demand just pushed it back up. Because the rental demand pushed it back up, the housing demand is so strong.
Yes.
Oh, here's a funny thing too. In that place with the housing demand, because we sold two that were very close by. This is flip properties. Both of the flip properties in the place in the county that had the highest housing demand. It is the zip code with the highest housing demand. They sold for non-housing uses. Both those properties sold for non-housing uses.
What does that mean, Gene?
Airbnbs.
Okay.
Non-housing uses, which is crazy. Boarding house.
Yeah.
You know, halfway homes. These are non-housing uses, which is crazy. It means that even though we have such a big, immense housing demand, we have an even stronger amount of, quite frankly, subsidies. Because things like boarding houses, things like halfway homes are government dollars. So government dollars are crowding out the need for people to actually live in those houses. Maybe that's another thing we identify when we're doing investments, is we identify people who have, lack of a better term, welfare recipients. Welfare recipients, SNAP benefits, TANF benefits, they have money to do stuff. So like it's not good. It's not good, but you can make money doing it.
This was a loophole. What is a loophole, Gene?
Morals and making money are, or what's right, I guess. Not morals. Morals is not the right word. What's right and what makes money?
Absolutely.
Different place.
Gene, in your experience, what's the biggest misconception about building wealth? I like this question actually. Through real estate, and how have you debunked it in your own career?
I think I've already answered this with something else, and I think that would have been the best answer. I think the best answer is that the biggest misconception of building wealth is that you buy and hold forever, and you hold a dinky little condo forever, and then you go from 100,000 to 400,000, and then it caps out, and then you won Monopoly or something.
Okay.
That's not how you do it. The way you do it is you got to sell the house, you got to build hotels in Monopoly. But in this case, you have to sell the house. You got to go into duplexes, fourplexes, apartments, and then you got to go into bigger stuff because that's what the whole thing with real estate. Real estate, what it is, the benefits of real estate is because it's tax advantage when you sell, because it's tax advantage when you receive rent, and you have to keep on rolling it. And the reason you have to roll it, this gets into a bigger topic. Audience, this gets into a bigger topic that, so stay with me here. The bigger topic is about the fact that you need to roll your investment. So what that means is you cannot buy and hold something for 30 years. That is what does not get you rich. It's not buy and hold the same thing for 30 years. You have to keep on rolling it. You have to keep on buying, sell, buy, sell, buy, sell. And the easiest way to do this for a long-term investor is to do a 1031 exchange. So what you do with a 1031 exchange is that you don't pay capital gains when you sell something and buy something if you follow the 1031 exchange rules. And the reason you do this is because you want a bigger tax depreciation base. Do you know what that is?
You can write a lot of expenses off against your taxes.
A depreciation base is a phantom write-off. So a phantom write-off means that it's money that you can say that you lost, but it's not leaving your pocket.
Got it.
That's why it's a phantom write-off. So what is depreciation? Depreciation for a house, the IRS recognizes it the same as for equipment. So if you buy a piece of equipment, it gets worn out. After 3, 5, 10 years, the equipment is no longer worth anything because it got worn out. Houses are seen in the same way. So that's depreciation. So you're able to write off the depreciation value of the house. So a percentage of the house value that you purchase. Now houses obviously don't wear out. So the IRS is not stupid. So when you sell the house and you don't do a 1031 exchange or a few other tax strategies, then you have to repay the depreciation that you took. Because depreciation is phantom, right? Because it's an amount of money that I should have lost, but if you sold it for a higher price, then you didn't lose it. And the government says, since you didn't lose it, you have to pay it back. The reason why we have to roll into bigger houses is because we get a new depreciation base. Because houses depreciate over 27 and a half years. You have a lot of people who are aggressively using houses as a business building method, and they're depreciating over 5 to 7 years. This is a different topic. So a normal house depreciates over 27 and a half years, but if you know a good tax person, they can depreciate the whole thing in 5 to 7 years. And it's called cost segregation. Cost segregation study. So what it is that you take the individual parts of the house and you depreciate those parts individually, and you have to pay a few $1,000s, and this way you can take your depreciation to 0 in 5 to 7 years rather than 27 and a half. That's too aggressive for me. I normally don't do that because I don't need to do that. But you need to eventually refill your depreciation, because remember what I said about a house that was $100,000 that's now $400,000. Do you know what the beauty of actually having a $400,000 house, if you bought it, is that all $400,000, about 3/4 of it is depreciable, which means if you bought a condo for $400,000, $300,000 of it can be deducted against your rental income. But if you had $100,000 and it appreciated to $400,000, you cannot depreciate the $300,000. You can only appreciate based on the $100,000. Understand?
Yeah.
So what you have to do is you have to roll it in. So you have to roll the 100 to a 400, and then you buy something else. That way you get a new depreciation. And then each of those new depreciations that you get because you're buying something bigger, that would offset your rental income. So you never pay tax on your rental income. So the way the game is played for a lot of people who do long-term buy and hold is not buy a property and hold it forever, is that they buy a property and they roll it and they don't pay taxes when they sell it, and they don't pay taxes when they collect rental income. And then they wait until the very, very end, and when their kids inherit it, they don't pay taxes either. Because the reason why you own real estate and why it beats everyone else is because it's so tax advantaged.
That's brilliant. Thank you, Gene. That was amazing.
Otherwise, real estate sucks as an investment. If you didn't have tax benefits of real estate sucks as an investment.
Absolutely.
It wears out, and like pay for maintenance, pay for whatever, and evictions and tenants and toilets and
almost a shelf life. So last question here, Gene. Beyond financial returns, what personal or societal impacts do you aim to achieve through your real estate ventures, and how do you measure that success?
That's a great question. The question I always ask myself, and this is for people who may not like capitalism, I like capitalism, but people may not like capitalism because as a aside, capitalism is one of the fairest ways we can do things, because if you didn't have capitalism, then you'd have force. And I think paying money is better than force. So perhaps I'm cynical about it. The reason why I like capitalism is that the reason why I'm doing this and I'm passionate about it is because my question that I come down to whenever I'm thinking about why I'm doing what I'm doing is, will I help more people if I had a bigger business or a smaller business? So I think there's nothing noble about living a small life with just enough for you and your close family. I think if you have the ability, then you have the responsibility to help others. I think that I believe that we're giving gifts, and that if you don't use your gifts, those gifts can be taken away. And I think that we should use those gifts in a way that would actually help more people. And we help more people by growing a bigger business, not a smaller business. And for whatever reason, people who say, oh, this is enough, just that is enough, I think they're very selfish.
Yeah, that lack mentality.
And I don't like it, because I don't like just enough. I don't like it that says I'm going to work my whole life and I'm going to live off of $6,000 a month in Social Security plus my 401k plus a few other things. It's like you're retiring in poverty and you're never able to help somebody. If you see yourself as a good person, the only way you can actually express yourself as a good person is actually by helping others.
Wow.
Creating jobs. Literally, just creating jobs.
Yeah,
creating opportunities.
Yeah. Creating a whole, you actually create an economy as well.
Changed the trajectory of their careers and of their lives and of their lineage and of their legacy.
Wow, beautiful.
If you were to call yourself a person that actually wants to help the world, it must come from within. There are forces in our society that says that you should try to change the world to match you, and that is incorrect. The world should not change to accommodate you.
Correct.
Any change must come from within. And the change that comes from within will change the exterior world. That's the correct way to do things. So much of the world is telling you that you should demand the world should change to accommodate yourself, and that is incorrect. I've always thought that—
I love that, Gene, yeah.
Thank you. I always thought that doing real estate is kind of an interesting thing, because if you were a real estate agent and you messed up an investment, you have maybe hurt somebody financially for 3 to 5 years. In 3 to 5, 7 years, maybe, they'll recover, because houses kind of go up.
Yeah, exactly.
So even if you didn't buy like at the perfect price or you overpaid, a couple of years, it won't matter. Like if somebody bought overpriced in 1995 and 30 years later, who cares if you overpaid by $20,000 in 1995? If you're holding, it doesn't matter, right? But people are so stuck on that. They say, oh, when I bought this house, I overpaid $5,000. I overpaid $10,000. Your house doubled, dude. Your house quadrupled. You know, I don't know what to tell you. But when you mess up somebody's career, that's real, because the trajectory of their career was like this, and then you heard it, and now it's like this. Even though this hurts a lot more than I was supposed to make this much, but I only made this much. And people lose perspective. This much is great. This much is still good. Don't worry about it. This is really good. This is a much lower life, and that I'm much more worried about. I'm much more worried about the fact that the trajectory, the direction of how high you can go is more important than the gains that you get.
Beautiful, thank you. That's powerful, thank you, Gene. Man, that was amazing.
I'm here talking philosophy now.
Good insight.
I can go deeper into philosophy if you like.
I remember how I was very unimpressed with Stoicism, and now I love it.
Wow.
I had to learn. Once I got into the meditations, that changed everything.
No. Very good.
We learn, we grow. If you have any questions, please put them in the description box below, comment, and I'll present them to Gene, because he's got a plethora of knowledge when it comes to real estate investing, and even investing in general.